Everybody in this party, get your hands, get your hands, get your.
Hi everybody, this is Chef Kurry here. So today I've decided to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be making a recipe called Chocolate Fondant. Now, for those of you that don't know what Chocolate Fondant is, it's something that you do know, you perhaps don't know it by name. So it's a dessert that when you cut it in the middle, the chocolate oozes all out. It's beautiful, but it can be really tricky to make. So you have to make sure that you follow your recipe precisely. And when I mean precisely, I mean that if the recipe says leave it in the oven for 5 minutes, you leave it in the oven for 5 minutes. You don't leave it for a minute longer because you think, oh, it's too soft. No, it can always carry over cooking inside the pan or the ramekin that you're leaving it in. So that's the beauty of chocolate fondant, and that's the beauty of pastry. So the reason why I also chose chocolate fondant is because it's a favorite. It's something that you can have in all these seasons, in your summer, your winter. You know, you can just go crazy, and you can serve it with your ice cream, you know, a sorbet, if you whatever your heart desires that you have it with, or you can just have it alone because it does tend to be rich. So here today I have my ingredients and all the equipment that I'm going to need. Now, how I like working is that I always make sure that I have my equipment with me prepared beforehand, not while I'm making my stuff. So here I have a greased pan. I'm going to use a pan today. I have a greased pan for my chocolate fondant. You can use a ramekin preferably, but you can also use a pan with preferably the shape looking, because you want it to keep its shape. And then when you pop it out, as soon as it's done, it can just fall nicely on the plate. And then there we go, done. So make sure that it's greased. This is called mise en place, pre-preparation, before the actual preparation. So you make sure that it is greased. You put it aside. You make sure that your oven is also at the correct temperature. Make sure you follow those instructions as well. And according to my recipe, it has to be at 205. So you make sure that it's at 205. So we're just going to turn it on to the baking icon, and then we're just going to put it on at 205 as the recipe says. So please make sure that you follow the instructions carefully. There's a reason why there's a recipe for you to follow the instructions as precisely as possible. Now, what you're going to need for this recipe is you are definitely going to need a hand mixer. When your hand mixer, you're going to need a spatula, and you're most probably also going to need a spoon as well. And then I have my sugar as the recipe states. You can honestly use any type of sugar. I prefer using brown sugar because it has a lot of flavor to it, unlike white sugar, but you can use whatever you prefer. Just stick to sugar. As long as it's sugar without any fancy names to it, you can go ahead and try it, you know. I mean, it's all about trying out. You won't know if you don't give it a try. And then, and then you're going to need a little bit of flour, not too much. Then you're going to need whole eggs and egg yolks. So you're going to need 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. And what we're going to do with the eggs is we're going to make a sabayon. A sabayon is basically your eggs, your whole eggs, precisely your whole eggs and your egg yolks with sugar. So you whip it up until it's triple in volume, and then it's going to change in color. Of course, it's going to become a bit more lighter, but you'll see as I make it what I mean by that. So just remember the word sabayon. It's a French term. And then here we have butter and chocolate. These two are going to go together. I'm not going to melt them over a bain-marie. A bain-marie would be melting it over on a pot with water and then stirring it. You don't have to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that I measure enough butter and chocolate and put it in the microwave. And that way, it's just easier for you because it's going to be the same concept. But just make sure that you watch out that your chocolate does not burn, because if it burns, you have to restart, and you don't want to do that, right? So just make sure that I follow a rule called the 20-second interval, where you leave it in the microwave for about 20 seconds to melt down, and then you check it, meaning that you mix it in so that there isn't any chocolate burning at the bottom, or there's no inconsistencies burning at the bottom. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, cool everybody. So I preferably would say that use the dark chocolate. There's a dark chocolate brand from Macro. It's funny because I forgot the name. You can use that, you know, because my recipe states it's 70% of dark chocolate. It doesn't necessarily have to be 70% of dark chocolate, you know, but preferably use dark chocolate for this recipe, because using if you were to use milk chocolate, for instance, or white chocolate, then the quantities would have to be different because the chocolates have different fat solubles in them. So make sure that for this specific recipe you use dark chocolate, unless you know you can substitute the remaining ingredients. So I decided to use this chocolate. It's Cadbury. It's the dark classic Cadbury chocolate, and just going to weigh off about 100 grams of that, using the scale, a kitchen scale. I prefer using kitchen scales over measuring cups and measuring spoons because for me it's more accurate, believe it or not. This is something that I was just taught in school to use a kitchen scale. So you can just break up the pieces, really, it's fine. And you're going to just get about 100 grams of this. Please make sure that when you weigh off ingredients, you are precise to the T. Pastry is like a science. If you don't weigh off what is asked, you can go maybe 1 gram or 2 grams extra, but I would recommend that you stay, if it's 100 grams, rather do 100 grams, because with pastry it can flop easily only because you added 5 grams extra of flour, for instance. It happens. It's true what they say, pastry is a science. So we have about 79 grams of chocolate there. Thank God I have enough. I thought I might need to get more earlier on. So yeah, we have 100 grams as is, as I had stated. And then we're gonna move on to our butter. Now you can leave your butter out to, you know, to become softer, because you are gonna melt it in the microwave. Really, it's really not a train smash there. And I'm just gonna take out a knife quickly so I can cut up that butter. You need 100 grams of butter. So just make sure that you cut it into cubes or something similar along that line, you know, just for it to be, I guess it's just how I was taught in school, you know, make things look to perfection, you know, as much as possible. Just gonna give this a quick cut. We are now 32 grams of that. How much do we have? 71, we're almost there. Ooh, 2 more grams. Okay, perfect. 100 grams. On point. So now you can put this back in the fridge or in the freezer. Now that it's warming up, it's always better to just put your butter back in the freezer, because you know in pastry it's all about keeping your items cold as possible for the best results. Alright, so melts down, and watch what I do for the 20-second interval that I was on about earlier on. You can use a glass bowl, you can use a plastic bowl. It's okay as long as it's not a metal bowl, really, as long as it's not a metal bowl. I'm just looking for the... Okay, cool. So I'm going to put it on for a minute, and then while I'm putting that on for a minute, we're going to get back to the eggs. Now, like I had said to you, we don't need this anymore. We need 2 egg whites. So now what I'm doing is I'm cracking eggs, separating them, the egg yolks. Remember I had mentioned earlier on that we are going to need egg yolks and whole eggs. So this is another quick trick of separating an egg. You have to make sure that you are very careful with this, because you know how eggs can just, you know, decide to be very... So now I'm cracking my second egg yolk and I'm separating it. Be very gentle, as gentle as possible, because you don't want your egg whites in there. And then I have, just bear in mind that I have 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. Just bear that in mind. And then you can always keep these egg whites aside for if you want to make meringues, for instance, or if you want to make a healthy breakfast the next morning. You can always use those eggs. You don't have to throw them away. I tend to find that a lot of people want to always discard of the egg that they don't need. It's like if you make, for instance, meringues as well, and you don't need the egg yolks, you can always use them for something else. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to add the sugar directly into the eggs, and then we're just going to whip them up together. So the trick with this as well is that you don't want to, I know earlier on I had said you're going to triple this in volume, but right now we want to add as little air and volume as possible. So we're just going to whip it up until everything is combined. That's all we're going to do. No whipping it until it's triple in volume, just until the eggs and the sugar are combined. So I'm going to show you how that is done, and you don't have to separate your eggs and your sugar because they're both going in the same thing. So you can just weigh them off in the same bowl or the same container that you're weighing them off in. So this is saying to me that I should weigh about 43 grams of sugar. So we're just going to open this quickly. Be very careful. There we go. And then you're just going to give this a nice big stir, if you want to call it that. So just put it on low. That's literally all you do. That is literally all you do. You can go further, but not for this recipe. I'm just going to quickly give these a rinse.
Yeah.
Swing the flour to the... So now I'm going to add 43 grams of flour to this mixture. And then we're just going to fold it in. And then, yeah. It's a pretty simple recipe. It really doesn't take long. It's just that I'm taking a video recording of it, so obviously it's gonna take longer than it should. But it's a really simple recipe. Like I did say to you in the beginning, that the trick about this recipe is making sure that you get the chocolate to ooze out. So now I'm just gonna lightly fold in my flour mixture with my eggs. Just give it a light fold in. And what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to quickly whip it up with my hand mixer, just so you can get rid of the lumps. So this is another option. If you don't have a hand mixer, you can just use your spatula and then just fold it in, or you can use a hand mixer. And this is how you fold in a product. You don't just stir like that. No, you fold it in a circular motion. Fold it in. Okay, now that I've shown you how to do that, I'm gonna just quickly use my hand blender just to blend it up all quickly, you know. So I'm just gonna done. That's how it should look like. That is how it should look like. It looks so beautiful. It should be a caramel kind of looking color. Now we're gonna add everything in here. So you're gonna combine your egg and chocolate mixture until it's combined together. So what you can do is you can just fold it in like I showed you earlier on, or you can use the hand mixer. So we're gonna use the hand mixer. And we're going to use the spatula as well, so I can show you what I mean by folding in. It's very important to fold in the products. Right, so you'll see it's obviously going to be like a chocolate looking consistency. Just fold it in, fold it in, fold it in. it's supposed to look like this with all your ingredients together, and you're going to combine them, the final step. So you can fold it in, or you can use the hand mixer, but I'm going to just use the hand mixer now so we can stop aerating the product. That's the most important thing. So we're just going to give it a quick stir, a quick mix. Done. That's literally all you do. Then you gently take your spatula and then you scrape the sides. So, because you obviously don't want an unevenness of egg yolks there and chocolate there. So yeah. Alright, so as you can see, I have just scraped off my sides just to bring the excess. So now I've just scraped my sides. As you can see, all the mixture is inside. That's what you want, so you don't waste anything. So now that that's done, preferably for this process. Okay, so for this process, preferably it's better to use a measuring spoon when you're measuring out to put it in, to put the filling inside the ramekins, so you can know how much is needed precisely. But because I have an idea, I'm going to use a spoon, and because I also don't have any measuring spoons on me, I'm going to use a spoon. So what you're going to do if you don't have measuring spoons is that you're going to take a big nice tablespoon and a teaspoon. The tablespoon is to take out the mixture and pour in, and then the teaspoon is to level it out. So this is what I mean. So you're just gonna take a nice big portion of that, and then you're gonna, so preferably you can fold this up twice using and another reason why I prefer using a measuring spoon is that you scoop it out neatly. It's very neat, unlike using a spoon, as you can see, because you don't want that. But you can always just wipe it off with a cloth, you know, once you've poured your filling inside the ramekins.
Oh, dude.
So I plan on perhaps getting about, maybe we can get 6, probably even 9. Yeah, we can probably get about 9 fondants. And yeah, and since it's so hot, like I said in the beginning of the video, you can have it with a nice scoop of ice cream. You can even make it with, have it with a nice hot fudge sauce as well. Okay, so now that we've put the mixture in the ramekins, as you can see, or in your baking tray, we're gonna put it in the oven for 7 minutes. And then we're going to check up on it for 7 minutes, and it should be fine. So yes guys, this is basically all that you do. See, quick, easy and simple. You really don't even need to follow a recipe for this, you know. It just comes naturally. Sometimes you already know that, oh, your wet ingredients go together, your dry ingredients go together, your eggs and your sugar will most probably always go together. So yeah guys, in 7 minutes time we're going to take it out of the oven and we'll have a beautiful slice of it, and I'll show you what it's supposed to look like in the middle. So 7 minutes time.